Do we know who is on the play here?
I am not entirely sure.
I feel like that is one of the bigger aspects of this matchup.
Adam will be on the play, so that is good for him, even though he is mulliganing to 6.
Okay.
Obviously, you're the de facto mono green person, but I do believe mono green has the edge normally in this matchup.
So before the Brothers War, I would say yes entirely. Here, I think it's much, much closer. Stuff like Misery's Shadow has really, really impacted the matchup. That and the black-red players are just playing more of the cards that kind of blank the green deck.
Yeah.
Extinction Event is just a card that has ballooned in numbers. And that card is very difficult to beat from the green side.
Yeah, so we have 2 Misery Shadows here from Adam's side, which is, they usually fluctuate between 2 and 3 copies.
So a Hall of the Storm Giants and a Thoughtseize. So we'll see what Dan is working with here. So another notable thing here is that Turn Timber Symbiosis can be taken by Thoughtseize. It is a land, but it is also a spell on the
It's a spell first,
Yep.
and a land second.
Yep. So Dan's got a pretty good hand here. He's got 2 Elvish Mystics, Oath of Nissa, Turn Timber, Cavalier, Breeding Pool, and an Overgrown Tomb. Looks like Oath of Nissa is going to be the pick here. I have to imagine that means Adam has some Fatal Pushes or Bone Crusher Giants to take care of some of these elves, and or he just wants he could just deal with some of the other stuff and doesn't want something like a Karn to come down.
Yeah, so I think I like leaving the elves, especially if you have, a bunch of pushes and Bone Crusher Giants, and I like taking the Oath there, I think, over the Cavalier, especially if Adam has a second Thoughtseize in hand, for instance.
Exactly. I would, if I was the green player, this would signal to me that Adam has a second Thoughtseize effect.
We have a Thoughtseize bug off the top. That's an Oath of Nissa.
That is an Oath of Nissa. We've got a Shock to 18 and an Elf.
Yep.
I'm shocked.
I am also shocked. Equally shocked.
Yeah. All right. Adam playing a second Hive of the Eye Tyrant.
Yeah.
There we go. And a Misery Shadow.
Which I think is going to be one of the key cards, which probably...
For sure. That is, again, a huge reason not to take the Cavalier is you have a way to deal with it once it comes down.
Yep.
So, Adam going to get to learn that this Thoughtseize bug is real. And I think that was the only option for Dan taking this Old Growth Troll. I believe that was a 3rd Oath and a Wolfwillow Haven.
Almost had the Fabled Miss,
Yeah.
I forget what the numbers are on that, but it's extremely low to miss with Oath in this deck.
Mm-hmm. Hold on, I thought Dan was attacking for a second there. All right, so we've got an elf and a tap land. Sense to me.
Yep.
See what Adam can follow up with. We've got a Blood Crypt. That is the new art from Unfinity.
Ooh.
How do you feel about the space arts?
Oh, they're cool. I'm kind of exhausted with all the new arts because I don't know what cards are anymore. But out of those cards, I do like the planets.
Okay. So it looks like we've got an attack and a pump for 1. So Dan going to 15. And then a Bone Crusher Giant and or Stomp taking care of one of the elves.
Yeah, this is a really good setup, I think, here for Adam.
For sure. If Dan doesn't have a good turn this turn, and Adam has a way to deal with this Cavalier, which we assume he does, this is definitely going to be a tough one for Adam to come back from.
Yeah.
Even this Old Growth Troll, normally a very tough card for the Rakdos deck to deal with. Misery Shadow says, nope, sorry.
Yeah, you can at least hold it back on defense maybe a few turns and kind of bluff the activation.
Exactly. It did look like to me that Dan drew a Wolfwillow Haven, so I'm surprised we didn't see Wolfwillow Haven into the troll, but maybe that's a Boseiju.
Yeah, I think that's actually Boseiju.
I think it is too. It looked very similar to the promotional art for Wolfwillow Haven. Dan coming in for 1 with the elf. All right. Looks like we've got an attack with the Misery Shadow. No pumps. And Sheoldred has hit the field.
Which is the key card here for Adam, I think,
Right.
in this spot. Once you already have Misery Shadow in play to blank some of these death triggers from the Old Growth Troll and the Cavalier.
Exactly. So Dan falling to 13 from the attack, and then falling to 11 from the shielded trigger. Let's see, we've got the Passeju being played, and then presumably Cavalier coming down, hoping to do some stuff. It does look like Dan's hand is not developing the best.
Well, hold on here. If we find a Nykthos, we can possibly, if Adam doesn't have a way to kill anything, we could turn Timber next turn. Possibly.
Yeah, that's true. We could.
So, but we did not have a Nykthos, unfortunately.
We did not hit a Nykthos. We did have a Blast Zone.
Yeah.
And I would be surprised if that's not what's going on here. Now, do you think Dan's only playing 6 Forest because he only has 6 Unglued Forests?
It is very possible. I think Dan is just really what was that card again? The Green Widow. He's a Green Widow enjoyer through and through.
For sure. Green Widow, another card tagged by this Misery Shadow.
Yes. There is the Misery Shadow that is really putting a wrench in Dan's plans.
Oh, and Adam last turn played one of the full text swamps.
I believe that's a mountain, actually.
Is it a mountain?
Yeah. I think it's more red, yeah.
I wasn't sure. I know a lot of these red-black lists don't play a mountain, but it does look like Adam has one.
That is a mountain.
Okay. Yeah. Now those, personally, those are some of my least favorite cards ever printed.
I agree. Right. I'm glad we can agree on that.
Oh my goodness.
I like to see pictures, I don't want to see just a wall of text.
Yeah, it looks like we're coming in with the Misery Shadow again.
Yeah, this is an attack.
Yeah, it can be a 6-power creature, so it can kill any of the things that Dan blocks with, and
this tells me that obviously Adam is okay with eating any of these creatures, but he has some sort of follow-up here.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to, leave the Misery Shadow in defense and protect his life total from a Cavalier attack the next turn.
Sure. I would expect something like a second Misery Shadow.
Ooh.
Maybe Power Word Kill as well.
Thinking about a double block? I mean, I don't hate that from Dan's side here. Misery Shadow is very annoying.
Double block gets really wrecked by Power Word Kill here.
Well, not so much.
Because you kill the Cavalier and then you trade for the troll.
The troll, yeah. Yeah, I suppose it does, yep.
It's pretty rough. But again, Dan is under a huge clock from... Okay, it looks like Adam just fine trading the Misery Shadow for the troll and then stomping an elf. Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. Very interesting. We'll see what kind of follow-up here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's my hand from Adam. I'm not sure if I'm thrilled with that attack. But maybe he's just thinking that, he just wants to trade 1 for 1 here, even though Misery Shadow is a very good card in the matchup.
Mm-hmm. We didn't get a good look at what the last card in Adam's hand is. Dan definitely drew a Wolf of Haven this turn, though. That one, you can fool me once.
Yep.
Is the other card the Stonebrain?
Oh, okay. Maybe.
Oh, I can't tell.
It's colorless looking.
It does look very colorless. Let's see what this is.
Here we have some text, full text, full art enjoyers in chat. Yeah. Just want to know you're wrong, and that is the Stonebrain. That is
the Stonebrain main deck, 1 copy. Now, what do you name with the Stonebrain?
Like Dreadbore or something. Like, I'm not sure. Or we're gonna activate it.
Yeah, if Shieldred's not in play, I think I'm naming Shieldred.
Yeah, I agree. But Shieldred isn't play.
I would, man.
So now it gets tough.
Yeah, we'll see if we get confirmation on what was named. I think Dreadbore kind of makes some sense. How many copies we've only got 2?
You only got 2 copies of Dreadbore.
Yeah.
And I think, I see the
secret lair. Yeah, the secret lair art. Although it was passed up. Liliana of the Veil.
Okay.
Are there any copies of Liliana of the Veil in this deck?
There are not. I don't hate the name from Dan's side. Obviously, we have perfect information.
Yeah, that is reasonable.
You
The
know,
black-red list have stopped playing too many copies of that card.
yeah,
Okay, so the last card in Adam's hand is Croxa.
not bad.
That is a pretty good follow-up. Adam does not have very much going on in the graveyard, though, so we'll see. It's very possible that Adam just has the time here to rebuild.
Yeah, and also Adam is kind of winning the race here, and all both these creatures are just going to stare at each other, and Shieldred's going to get some triggers. So
Sure.
as long as Dan bricks for a few turns, I think Adam is in a good spot.
We'll see. Adam going to go up to 17 with this Shieldred trigger, and yeah. Dan does only have the one card in hand, and we know that it's the Turn Timber Symbiosis. So
Shieldred got in. So that might be a Shieldred off the top. That might be what that is.
Interesting. Okay, let's see what Dan chooses to put on top. I would be surprised if it's not Storm the Festival.
Yeah.
So Storm the Festival on top.
True Mountain. Okay, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
That's a close play there for Adam. I think if there's anything but Storm the Festival in the graveyard, I'm all in. But when there's Storm in the graveyard, I have to really think if I want to make that trade.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I feel like with the way that the board was set up, I probably would have just played the Croxa, gotten the Turn Timber out of hand.
Yeah.
How many cards does Turn Timber Symbiosis look at? Is the real question.
I believe it's 7. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's got to be a large number.
We see a Cavalier here, and
oh, that is the Green Widow, and we got a reader.
Yeah.
Well, we got a reader, dear folks.
So can you refresh us on the Green Widow here, Joe? Do you remember?
Oh yeah. So 2 green, 4/3 reach trample, and then 8 mana, -1 for each of your domain. You can return it to the battlefield, I believe. Pretty interesting. And this the Storm of the Festival is pretty rough.
Yeah, this was a good Storm of the Festival.
Pretty good one. Although notably, we have not seen a Karn.
Yep.
Now does. All right.
So gotta make sure there's 4 Karn in the deck. Is that what we're doing?
No. I'm thinking. So it's not the most common practice currently to have a Might Stone and Weak Stone in your sideboard to grab with Karn, and it looks like Dan does not have one.
Okay.
So the only way that he has to get rid of a Shieldred on the battlefield with Karn is Cityscape Leveler.
Okay.
Which can definitely be too little too late with it costing 8 mana.
So maybe this is Adam's plan here, is from that last attack. Maybe he wants that Croxa trigger to deal 3 damage at some point. Maybe he wants that Turn Timber to come out of him, but now we're going to see it. So I think that Turn Timber actually came into play. So yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen here.
Interesting.
So maybe Adam was just setting up, I want this to deal 3 and have my Shieldred take me home.
I guess, so the reason to play the Turn Timber last turn is that with the Wolfwillow Haven, it does mean that Dan is at 9 mana. So any land off the top does ensure that he can flashback the Storm the Festival. And I do like that play, especially once you know that Croxa is in Adam's hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, are we swinging in? Dan has fallen.
Yeah.
Dan is falling. Dan has fallen to 2 after the Shieldred trigger. So
yeah, I believe, swinging makes some sense that we definitely want to trade with Shieldred.
Yeah.
But I think Dan just has to straight up win this turn, or else, exactly, that's going to be it.
Yeah. And here, that's another perfect example. Even if he drew Karn off the top here, he doesn't have a way to deal with a Shieldred this turn.
Yep.
Which, for 9 mana, he has exactly Shieldred plus the Might Stone and Weak Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Cam and I were talking, and if I was playing the green deck currently, I would be very high on that card. I think that card is very strong.
I agree.
I've floated a couple of lists that have 2 in the main deck and the 3rd in the sideboard, and it's just been very strong.
I completely agree. I talked to a lot of green players at Atlanta, and they thought the same thing. That card was very good.
Right. So I know the meme. The
Yep.
meme is that mono green players don't sideboard.
Yeah.
There are some 2-ofs in this sideboard. Sorry, there's exactly one 2-of, and it is Ratchet Bomb, which I don't think comes in this matchup. It does look like Dan is sideboarding here.
Okay.
It does look like Dan
You
is
got 3
sideboarding.
cards face down right now. So
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what you don't want the Stone Brain. You really don't want the Stone Brain here. But I'm not sure. I guess Sky Sovereign is something that you could definitely consider replacing it with. And I think that's about it.
like maybe Dan doesn't like some cards in his main deck. Maybe he doesn't like the Green Widows for some reason in this matchup. He definitely doesn't like the Stone Brain. So maybe he's siding in something like a Shadow Spear or something random like that. That's for the amount of cards I'm seeing him pull down. He's pulling down more than one here.
Yeah, for sure. I would be shocked. So I think Sky Sovereign makes the most sense here, and then beyond that, you could potentially have something like Unlicensed Hearse is pretty reasonable as just like a threat that survives stuff like Extinction Event. Is pretty difficult in general for the red black deck to deal with. And then can interact with like some Croxus stuff. It's not the best card, but it does look like Dan is sideboarding at least 3 cards here. What does Adam have?
So Adam, let me just read off his sideboard now. We got 2 Abrade, 2 Duress, 2 Extinction Event, 3 Go Blank, 1 Invoke Despair, 1 Reckoner Bankbuster, 2 Rending Volley, 1 Sorin the Mirthless, and 1 Meat Hook Massacre. So obviously, like you said, the Extinction Events, they're in here. Duress may or may not be in here. The Meat Hook Massacre, maybe he wants... I don't think that's really for this matchup. It's kind of a bit too slow. It's only going to clean up like elves and stuff like that. The Invoke Despair, I could see the Abrades come in probably because, there's a bunch of artifacts on the green side.
Yep.
And kills elves as well.
Now, the real question is Adam one of the players that will board in these Go Blanks?
Is that a thing? I'm not. This is unfamiliar territory.
So that is a thing. It's a pretty heated debate at the moment.
Okay.
Where the black-red player... So a lot of the cards in the black-red list don't attack favorably into the green board. So stuff like Graveyard Trespasser that helps mitigate Storm the Festival and Cavalier triggers and things like that are things that you just want to get out of your deck anyway. So I have seen some black-red players go towards Go Blank as a way to just sort of facilitate their I'm going to 1-for-1 you and then mind rot you when you don't have too many resources.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. For me, it would just depend on what cards are you taking out.
Sure.
But I could see a Mind Rot, like you said, being better than some of these bodies that don't match up well, like Graveyard Trespasser.
Yeah, I think the 4 Graveyard Trespasser are the easy sideboards out. And then, honestly, stuff like Croxa is fine, but I don't think it's really what you want to be doing.
I don't think so.
So I think that's an easy 6, and you definitely want the 2 Abrades, you want the 2 Extinction Events, and then, yeah, I could definitely see some Go Blanks or the Duresses.
Yeah.
I think the Duresses are less impactful because you can miss with them.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it's very hard to, quote-unquote, miss with Go Blank.
Yeah.
You need to be in a pretty bad...
I think I'm with you. I think you sold me on these Go Blanks.
Yeah.
I would probably bring them in before the Duress and before the Invoked Despair is probably last on the list of those black cards.
Yeah, I don't think Meat Hook Massacre or Sorin or anything else really appeals to me. But we'll see. Like I said, it is a pretty heated debate. Some black-red players just leave in their Graveyard Trespassers and are just comfortable with, I'm going to get to attack or trigger this exactly one time, and then I need to deal with your trolls and your cavaliers and stuff to, put on the pressure.
Yep.
The other thing is that you are very often Extinction Eventing for odd, and your Graveyard Trespassers are also odd.
That makes sense.
So
a lot of things coming up not Trespassers' way.
Yeah.
But I think I would, like you said, I would just want to get it out just from the 3/3 body standpoint, but there's a laundry list of reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
Why it's bad.
Notably, again, we did not see Dan ever see a Karn.
Yeah.
And Karn is a huge problem.
Karn is good. If this deck was probably going to be hit by a banning, it would probably be Karn, I think. Over bunch of these other cards. So you probably want to draw the best card in your deck.
Yeah. But again, stuff like Misery Shadow makes it so that you have more 2-drops and you're more easily able to attack down a Karn. They can't just freely minus it. Another good card in this matchup that Dan does not have is Essica's Chariot in the sideboard.
Yep.
That one's a really nice stopgap for the green deck, where you can just play Karn. Even if it dies the following turn, you just make a bunch of bodies, and you can either pressure your opponent or you can hold off stuff like Shadow or Shieldred.
Yeah, seems to buy you time for Storm the Festivals and stuff like that. Second Karn, which will get your, your Cityscape Leveler or something like that. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the other interesting omission from Adam's list is a lot of the red-black lists currently have started playing Pithing Needles in some number in the sideboard, and those come in this matchup and just name Karn.
Yep. Yeah, I've liked them. I've seen them in the sideboard of John Goss, a former state champion, by the way. He plays them in Niv-Delay. He has access to all 5 colors, and he thinks Pithing Needle is one of the best cards for that matchup. So
yeah,
I really do think that card is very good here.
Yeah. Looks like players are deciding on their hands. Dan looks comfortable, and I think we're just going to get started. We have a Forest into an Elvish Mystic. Oh, that means the promo ones are Llanowar Elves.
Yes, they are.
Oh man.
Yeah, I actually did kind of know that.
Yeah. It's like I know it's one of them. I think it's Elvish Mystic that has that promo, but
one of my signature car mates is Albert Liao, and he knows his elves. So I at least know which elves to give him, and that was one of them at a time.
Okay, so we've got a Lair of the Hydra drawn for Dan, although it looks like he's not going to play it.
Ooh.
Very interesting.
That is interesting.
Very weird. Okay, so we've got an attack for 1, and then just a pass?
Interesting.
I wonder what Dan's hand looks like here. No Kiora, no second elf, no Wolfwillow Haven.
That's really good for Adam if we don't have a turn 3 play.
Exactly, yeah. Presumably this means that Dan's, unless Dan draws something, which I think he just drew a troll.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe Dan forgot how Lair works and thinks it's similar to like the Scars lands.
I've done that before.
Yeah. Looks like this Beseiju is getting played.
Yep.
And notably, even though Dan has, I won't say butchered, but manipulated his mana base in a strange way. He does have a Teferi in hand, and no blue or white sources in hand or on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. And that can definitely be a liability against the red-black deck. So it looks like Adam, with the perfect turn 3 follow-up here of Fable of the Mirror Breaker, grabbing that goblin.
Yeah, I think his mana base is more so for the Green Widow than the Teferi, but yeah, you're right here. He doesn't have any lands that can cast it.
Well, so if it was for the Green Widow, he does have 3 Branch Loft pathways.
Oh.
So like he wants to be casting those white spells. He also has a portable hole in the sideboard as a Karn target.
Yep.
So
let's see what we got. We do have a Forest, so we can make a turn 4 player if we have it. That is not named Teferi.
Yeah.
Who slows the sunset.
Looks like this Lair's coming down. Again, very surprised to not see that happen on turn 2. Very strange. It looks like the Turn Timber Symbiosis is in hand again. And no attack from the troll looking to block this goblin.
Okay.
Makes a little bit of sense.
I think so too. I think that's role assessment in this matchup.
Yeah. Dan definitely did have a Forest to play here, so he could have played a turn 4 Karn if he had so. It definitely doesn't look like he has too much of a play here, unfortunately.
I don't believe he had it. I believe there was 2 more lands, one of them being a Nykthos, and that Teferi. There's a Turn Timber again.
Yeah. Adam looks like he discarded a land and a Graveyard Trespasser.
Okay, so they're still in the deck, but I do see an Extinction Event.
Yeah. So I think Adam's not going to be having these go blanks. We've got a slamming with the goblin.
Yeah, I like it.
Acquire my treasure at any cost.
We definitely have a plan.
Yeah. Got a block. I wonder if Adam's setting up like Misery Shadow plus Stomp here.
See that? Yep. We got 4 mana on this turn.
Could also potentially see something like if he brought in the Invoke Despair, casting Invoke Despair here.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that that's exactly where we want to be.
When we use the treasure, we're going to play a Pledging Harvester.
Yep. And a Graveyard Trespasser.
Okay, so we just really wanted the mana there.
Yeah, very interesting. So it does look like we're gonna see it play out here, where Graveyard Trespasser, Adam is comfortable just getting one Graveyard Trespasser trigger, and then hopefully dealing with this troll at a later date.
Yep. Yeah, we're also playing this Trespasser out when we have an Extinction Event in hand.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
we're really thinking that will be cast way down the line
Mm-hmm.
and not very soon. Very interesting.
Yeah. Now again, unless Dan draws a spell he can cast, he's not making a play next turn.
Yes.
So this Graveyard Trespasser will flip, and
be a 4/4 and be able to attack maybe if Adam so chooses.
Yeah. Gotta get that as day-night token.
Yep.
Gotta be vigilant.
Everyone's favorite token right now.
Yeah.
Favorite thing to track.
Everyone's least favorite mechanic. It does look like Sky Sovereign was the draw for Dan here, which means he did board it in.
Which makes a lot of sense. Yep.
Makes a lot of sense.
It'll definitely play here.
It looks like he's debating attacking first would be my assumption here.
Should be an interesting attack. I'm not sure if Adam would block. Obviously, it's a good block for on the face for creatures. You only get rid of one, but you might not want that troll to be.
It's a weird attack because the green deck can't, like, you can't really get punished by double block.
Right? Yeah. We'll see the Sky Sovereign here. Let's see which one he wants to go after.
Yeah.
It's gonna have a good think. Might hit the Harvester, be scared of another Harvester, perhaps.
Honestly, I would probably just kill the Graveyard Trespasser and discard the Teferi, I think is the line here.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have Clunk left over in our hand. We're not really worried about that ward trigger as much.
Yeah. I think next turn we're just going to be casting this Storm the Festival, and this Teferi is not going to do much for a while.
Yep.
So this would be my assumption here would be to kill the Trespasser.
So maybe we're making this play because we're a little bit scared of a Crux or something like that, some random discard.
Maybe.
Something like that. And the Harvester, I don't think there's a huge difference between the two, maybe, on board.
I guess the consideration is also that the this Goblin can copy Bloodtithe Harvester, which is pretty bad for Dan. But again, Troll is just such a brick wall here.
Yeah.
And a big reason of why I'm a fan of taking your Trespasser out in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just not going to get through, especially with Adam's decision to only play 2 Misery Shadow here. I think, once you start playing the third one, stuff like that becomes more reasonable. But
yeah,
it does look like Adam is just going to play this Bone Crusher Giant.
So this is interesting because, like you said before, we don't like Graveyard Trespasser because it's an odd converted mana cost. Well, that's all Adam has right now.
Yeah.
So
yes, very much so.
Extinction Event really wants to name even, but really a whole lot on the green side that's even mana cost.
Well, I'm the fool here because clearly Dan has drawn the Oath of Nissa. He can just play this. You just play this Teferi whenever he wants.
Had it the whole time.
Yeah. I would be shocked to see anything other than Nykthos plus Storm the Festival here.
Yep.
We don't have enough mana to do something like, say, play Oath plus play Teferi, activate Nykthos, untap Nykthos, do that sort of shenanigan.
We could at least oath before we storm with the Nykthos.
We could, yes, we can oath before we storm.
What would you do? Would you oath before you storm? As the green player?
Yes, I would. Anytime you get a free, basically when you cast a spell before activating Nykthos into a play you were going to make, yeah, it's generally you just should, unless you know that you need the mana for something else. Like,
it's the only thing I could maybe have a little bit. I think I agree with you overall, but the only counter argument I could have is maybe he wants that oath for information down the line. But it's kind of the same thing with Storm, right?
yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of a wash in that department.
I can't really see what the other cards are. I would be okay. So he took the forest over. He was considering Wolfwillow Haven on one of the lands. In general, it is better to get Wolfwillow Haven when you have a Nykthos. Just adds some free devotion. But if he's concerned that Adam has something like Invoke Despair, it's somewhat reasonable. Interesting. We do have the Karn activating, targeting the Sky Sovereign, which is going to get quickly abraded. Okay, and then Dan is going to cast this oath off of the forest that he grabbed.
Yep.
Okay.
Which I guess is the reason why you would take forest over Wolfwillow Haven there.
Sure.
But I think like you said before, I would just play that first.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a key abrade to have.
For sure. So again, here if we have a way to deal with this old growth troll, even if it's temporary, even if it's, a Dreadbore or Power Word Kill or whatever, then we can, actually we can kill this Karn regardless, because we can just make a copy of either of the 3-drops and send everything to Karn.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there any difference between copying the... Not really. I guess you would just copy the Graveyard Trespasser and exile some cards.
Yeah, I don't know how many creatures there are. I assume there's the one Graveyard Trespasser in Adam's graveyard, but Adam did put the Sky Sovereign into exile, I believe, even though it just got abraded.
Yeah, that might be his graveyard, because there should be a Storm in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see another pile.
Yeah.
So maybe we're just putting it off to the side like that.
Yeah, I'm just, because Adam did exile the elf with the Graveyard Trespasser, so in case that ends up mattering at some point, Dan should have a separate pile for the elf and then the...
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's off screen or not.
Yeah.
But typically when people put their graveyard sideways, that is representative of it being an exile pile. Okay, what is going on here?
So we're copying the Bone Crusher Giant, and we're probably going to see that send at Karn.
Yep.
It does look like to be his graveyard right now.
Okay, so there is another off screen. Cool. Okay, cool. That's fine. And yeah, just take the free block on the non-copy Graveyard Trespasser and move on with your life, I guess.
Yep. You might think that if he has we have a Turn Timber in hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Might block. How much mana do we have? 7 right now. Yeah, never mind. I was seeing if that mana was relevant going into Dan's turn, if you wanted to try with the Bone Crusher.
So yeah, blocking something and having Troll die with Nykthos in play is only net 1 mana.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe Dan can turn Timber Symbiosis regardless of the thing dies or not. Ooh, this Thoughtseize is going to take that turn Timber Symbiosis for sure.
Left with a Kiora, which won't do much by itself.
Yeah, and now, funny enough, we do wish that we had blocked with the Troll so we could draw a card with their Kiora.
Yep.
But
yeah, we would have.
I think that is the first damage that Adam has taken.
Yes.
from that Thoughtseize. He definitely gained some life off of the Graveyard Trespasser triggers. So I would assume Adam's, I think Adam is back at 20 after being at 22.
What did Dan just draw? What is that? The colorless card. It looks like a Mightstone Weakstone, but I'm not sure if we saw that. So I feel like I'm missing.
Yeah, it does look like a Mightstone Weakstone.
We'll see here, of course.
There's definitely not one on my list.
Okay. So Adam is at 18. That is his life total.
Okay. Miss triggers from Trespasser? Sure. That is certainly possible. Okay, so Kiora, presumably going to make... That's the other thing, is this this layer is going to get big fast.
That's the thing about mono green I've come across a lot is, sometimes when they have nothing, they still have, a 10/10 or whatever layer of the Hydra just hanging out. And that's still can be difficult to deal with. Yes, he was attacked by a mana dork.
Yeah, okay. Adam did have at least 2 triggers of Graveyard Trespasser, right? Oh no, because he made a copy of a Bone Crusher Giant, not the... Yes. Okay. Yeah, I do not know what the card is in Dan's hand. That very much looks like a Mightstone, Weakstone.
No, wait, is that a Godfarus statue?
No.
It is a Mightstone, Weakstone. Okay. So
it looks like our list is off.
Might be.
Okay. It looks like just drawing some cards here. Minusing Cure, presumably on the Nykthos. And doing my favorite thing to do with the Mightstone, Weakstone is activating Nykthos with the mana ability.
Yes.
Pretty crazy. We've got a Cavalier entering the battlefield. It looks like we're going to resolve a Cavalier trigger. We'll see if Dan remembers his Kiora. Doesn't look like anything special was hit off of this.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh.
We may have updated the deck list within MTG Melee, so we'll hold off and see if that Mightstone, Weakstone is truly there or not. All right. So that was a pretty good turn for Dan.
Yeah, for sure. And situations like this are a big reason why the green deck is favored. We saw Adam interact early, cast some Thought Seizes, and in the end, Dan just drew 4 cards this turn.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Mightstone and the Weakstone is a very powerful addition here. It kills almost everything that is normally played in the format.
Yeah.
Including indestructible things, because it is a -5/-5 ability, not 5 damage.
And 5 points is really the key, except for Cavalier, really, in this format, is really the key. So we're going to see that Extinction event that we knew about for a while.
And I think Adam lost more cards.
Maybe.
it might have been the exact same number of cards.
Dan's cards are better,
but I think it was a 3 for 3.
All right, so we have a question from chat. Why does Izzet Phoenix run Sahelian Pioneer? So I could take this one as the Phoenix person.
Yeah.
So I like it over, say, something like Young Pyromancer. It's kind of an extra threat. But the reason why I like it is it doesn't die to just fatal pushes and stuff like that. So when I'm against red-black, I side out all my Ledger Shredders and kind of just try to make cards like Stomp and Fatal Push not really have too much of an impact. So I think that's the main reason why it's just an extra threat versus grindy decks. As we see a concession here from, I think it was...
I believe Adam. I believe Adam conceded. I don't think Adam had any cards in hand, and Dan again was doing Cavalier plus activate my Nykthos in response in anticipation of hitting another Nykthos.
Yeah.
And then probably hitting for around 11 with a layer this turn. So
Yeah, I was just making sure it was Adam and not deckless, error-oriented.
Yep.
So, yeah, we'll get that sorted out.
Yeah, for sure. The Saheeli is, like you said, mostly for the red-black matchup.
Mhm.
It's just something that is very difficult for them to deal with and allows you to do stuff like we saw last match, minus to create a copy of a Crackling Drake to just one-shot people.
I did see that as I was perusing the tables, but in my version, my favorite mode is minus copy my Hullbreaker Horror.
Yeah. And the Crackling Drakes are in the Izzet decks and the other versions of the blue-red list are mostly for red-black.
Mhm.
Because you get into positions where you just need to have something where if they brick for a turn, you just close the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I know some Phoenix lists in the past were combining Crackling Drake with fling effects. There's the land that is 3 mana that you can sacrifice Crackling Drake, deal its power to a player. So that could be a way that you could get around, say, having that, as Joe said before, having that red-black player having to brick on a Dreadbore or something for a turn, not being able to kill it.
Yeah, for sure.
So we saw some interesting things in the sideboard there. So we saw Adam keeping his Graveyard Trespassers, which me and you both did not expect. We did not see the Go Blanks, but we did see the Extinction Events, and we saw the Abrades, which I think were the best cards in his sideboard.
We didn't see any Duresses or Go Blanks. It's weird because Reckoner Bankbuster is definitely the type of card you would want against something like Mono Green, but in the face of Karn, that's a no-go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the green lists usually have more of a versatile sideboard when it comes to actually sideboarding cards in. Like I said, the DN doesn't have any copies of Esika's Chariot. Sky Sovereign is in here, but there's just a couple of things in here that are off enough that we're not really sure exactly what he was boarding in.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot of what I would like to call ham sandwiches in his sideboard, which are just kind of grindy cards that are good for this type of matchup. Like you said, Chariot, Sky Sovereign, I would consider to be a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
There's something that costs 4 or 5, maybe 6 that impacts the board. Doesn't really have a lot of those here.
Yeah, and like we were talking about before, I'm personally, I have not been a fan of changing your mana base to try and facilitate stuff like Teferi or Portable Hull or Glass Casket when you just have so many good answers in just playing the mono green list. Plus, you could play more basic forests, which is good for stuff like Old Growth Troll, and you just take less damage against the aggressive decks.
Yeah, I definitely think from the aggressive deck standpoint, that's one of the key ways to attack mono green right now is like the mono white aggro deck. So I think making those matchups better is obviously what you want to do. But not only that, you also have Mightstone and Weakstone now. So you don't want to really splash for like Portable Hole or some other removal spell.
Yeah, I found that Ratchet Bomb is a good enough card for the smaller stuff. It's very good against all of the decks that are playing Iconoclast and Saheeli. You can just clean up a bunch of tokens. And then anything in the mid-range, you can block with Esika's Chariot, or you can kill with the Mightstone Weakstone. All right, it looks like we are done sideboarding. Adam is going to lead off with Blightstep Pathway into Thoughtseize. And Adam has some elves, some trolls, Blast Zone, and Storm the Festival.
It's bad.
So I think Adam has a forest, a branch loft pathway, and the Blast Zone for lands.
Yep. So it looks like our only payoff right now is the Storm, which we are a bit far away from right now.
Yeah.
And Thoughtseize.
Yes, I would assume if Adam's taking the troll here, that we would be taking that he would have a second Thoughtseize here.
That is the selection. They Storm the Festivals. We picked up a Temple Garden, so we really only have mana and elves right now.
Now, if Adam follows this up with like a Fatal Push here, oh, is Adam not playing a second land? Ooh, interesting. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, I really liked Adam's position before that happened.
All right, so Dan is considering shocking this.
I believe it's an Old Growth Troll at the top.
Yep.
So that's pretty good.
The Thoughtseize bug coming a turn late.
Yep.
It looks like Adam kept a 1-land hand. I'm not sure if it was on 6 or not with the 2 Thoughtseizes. And Dan doing what the green deck does, just ripping stuff off the top. Although Oath into Beseiju, not exactly what you're looking for.
Not devastating.
However, Dan will still get to play another elf this turn and attack for 5. So that is definitely not the slowest clock I've ever seen.
Yeah. The problem is Adam doesn't really have a great way to deal with Troll from 2 mana other than Dreadbore.
Exactly.
Which he only has 2 of in his deck. So it's gonna be tough.
He does have power word kill, right?
Oh yes, he has 2 power to kill, my bad.
Yeah.
So we have 4 answers.
Yeah. I would assume that Adam really needs to start drawing some lands and that we need to hit Extinction Event to get out of this position.
Looks like we did not hit.
Ugh. Oh, and a Karn off the top. Ooh. That's gonna be really tough. I think that might signal. Wow, just plays Karn does not activate.
Yep.
And just starts swinging. Huh. Yep. All right. It looks like we're grabbing a card with Karn here. And yeah, Godpharaoh statue going to close this one up very quickly if Adam doesn't have another Thoughtseize effect, and even if he does have another Thoughtseize effect.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Godpharaoh statue usually the card you get there when your opponent is very far behind.
Yeah. There was a period of time where the green players weren't playing Godpharaoh statue, and then someone just pointed out how easy it is to secure free wins with the card.
Yep.
Like, your opponent stumbled for a turn, even if it's something like Blue-Red Phoenix, you just play your 6-mana card a couple turns early, and they just cannot win the game.
Yeah.